It began with a box, ordinary cardboard torn at the edges. It lay forgotten at the edge of Susquehanna Road, tucked between brittle weeds and winter frost. It was February 25, 1957. A college student was wandering through the woods of Fox Chase, Philadelphia. He was searching for rabbits, setting traps, perhaps hoping for dinner or sport. But fate had other plans. There in the brush, the box sat like a silent witness. Most would walk past it, but something, instinct, dread, or divine cruelty made him stop. He peeled the cardboard flaps open. Inside was a child, a boy, naked, bruised, alone. His hair had been crudely chopped, uneven and jagged as though someone had done it in a panic. His eyes were closed, his limbs were stiff, his skin pale with death. No blood, no clothes, just a plaid blanket wrapped around his tiny frame, as if someone had tried at the very last second to give him a hint of dignity. He looked no older than 4. The student, terrified, fled the scene. He didn't call the police. 2 days later, a second man, a man scavenging the area, found the same box. This time, authorities were alerted, and that's when the horror began to unravel. Fox Chase was a quiet neighborhood. Trees, churches, families. The kind of place where kids rode bikes until dusk and everyone knew your name. It was not the kind of place where murder happened. The cardboard box had once carried a bassinet sold by J.C. Penney. It now carried something far more disturbing. A boy stripped of his identity, his life, and almost his humanity. Detectives arrived to find a confusing scene. The child's body was clean, too clean. His fingernails were trimmed. His hands and feet were wrinkled, signs of prolonged exposure to water. His face was calm, his mouth closed, but his body told another story. Bruises, lacerations, scars. He had suffered. Someone had hurt him. Flyers were printed. Photos circulated. The police did something unprecedented. They released post-mortem images of the child, hoping someone would recognize him. The public called it disturbing. The police called it necessary. Still, no one came forward. No schools, no hospitals, no missing child reports, nothing. He was invisible in life, and now invisible in death. The city gave him a name not out of love, but out of necessity. He became the boy in the box, a name whispered in police stations, newspapers, and nightmares. And for the next 65 years, that's all he would be. The Philadelphia Police Department quickly realized they weren't dealing with a typical case. This wasn't a runaway. This wasn't a custody dispute. This was a ghost. A team of seasoned detectives was assembled. Among them, a man named Remington Bristow, a city medical examiner turned relentless investigator. Bristow wouldn't just work this case, it would consume him. The boy's body was examined from head to toe. Age, estimated between 4 and 6. Height, 40 inches. Weight, 30 pounds. Undernourished. His hair, chopped hastily and unevenly, suggested it was done either post-mortem or in a frenzied attempt to disguise him. The bruises on his body ranged in age, indicating prolonged abuse. Not a single blow, but a lifetime of suffering. One haunting detail stood out. The soles of his feet and palms of his hands were rough, almost leathery, calloused, as if he had walked barefoot for a long time, or perhaps been forced to. The investigation sprawled. Detectives combed through every missing child report from Pennsylvania to New York. They checked schools, orphanages, hospitals, adoption agencies. Nothing matched. The boy's fingerprints were taken. Photographs were sent to newspapers, handed out door to door. They turned to the box. It had once carried a white bassinet from J.C. Penney, purchased in Upper Darby, a nearby town. But the store didn't keep records of individual sales. There was no way to trace it. The blanket, hand-stitched, cheap wool, no identifying tags. The scene yielded no footprints, no tire tracks, no blood, no fibers. It was as though whoever left him there had disappeared into thin air. Then came the theories. One woman claimed she saw a boy matching his description at a local foster home, not far from the site. She said he was mistreated, locked in a basement, denied food, beaten. Police investigated. The home was run by a couple with a long list of foster children. It wasn't a loving place, but nothing definitively linked them to the murder. No arrests were made, no charges filed. Another theory suggested he was the illegitimate child of a teenage girl who hid her pregnancy and disposed of the body after birth. Then there were whispers of organized crime, trafficking, rituals. It all led nowhere. Detectives began to buckle under pressure. Reporters hounded them. The public demanded answers. But the boy had no school records, no medical files, no one who claimed him. He didn't exist on paper. It was a crime without a witness, without a motive, without a timeline. Just a box, a blanket, and a boy no one could name. The case went cold, ice cold. Days turned to weeks. Weeks bled into years. The boy in the box became more myth than memory. And the boy, still without a name, was buried in a pauper's grave, marked with a small headstone. Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy. A city moved on, but one man didn't. Remington Bristow, the medical examiner's investigator, couldn't forget. For over 30 years, he chased theories, interviewed psychics, bought birthday cards to place at the boy's grave. He believed the foster home theory. He believed justice was close, but justice never came. And when he died, he still didn't know the boy's name. Then came the internet. Amateur sleuths, cold case forums, Reddit threads. People across the world took interest. The case was featured on America's Most Wanted. YouTube channels speculated endlessly. The boy became an obsession for many, but no one got closer, until science caught up. In 2019, the boy's body was exhumed once more. His remains were fragile, decayed from time, but still held secrets. This time, forensic genealogy joined the case. In December 2022, the Philadelphia Police Department called a press conference. There, surrounded by microphones, Chief Danielle Outlaw delivered a sentence that stunned the room. "We have identified the boy in the box." His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Born January 13th, 1953. He was just 4 years old when he died. DNA had traced him through distant relatives. Using public ancestry databases, investigators built his family tree backwards, branch by branch, until they found a match. A perfect match. Joseph. He had a birth certificate. He had living relatives. But the celebration was bittersweet. Authorities knew how he died. Blunt force trauma. But they refused to release the names of his birth parents. Both were deceased. And those still living didn't want to speak. We still don't know who hurt him. We don't know who placed him in that box. But now, we know who he was. Joseph Augustus Zarelli, a child lost in time, a boy erased from the world, now restored. For more than 6 decades, Joseph lay alone beneath a headstone that didn't carry his name. His face, plastered across wanted posters and aging detective desks, became a symbol, not just of a murder, but of neglect, of abandonment, of a society that failed to protect its most vulnerable. Now we know his name. We know he was born, that he mattered. And though his story ends in shadows and unanswered questions, the light of truth finally touched him. Let his name be a warning. Let his story be a vow that no child should go unnamed, no victim should be forgotten, no case should ever go cold. Joseph Augustus Zarelli, not just the boy in the box, a son, a life, a name that echoes.